Courage. Bakari Sellers, how are you, sir?
Man, I'm doing well. I'm glad to be a part of this initiative, and I'm glad to be with you. You got one of the best shows on all of radio, my brother, and people just always talk to me about your show. I got friends who come on your show, Ebony Hinton, just a lot of people who love and appreciate you. I think you've had Reese on. I'm not sure, but
Oh, of
you,
course. Yeah, Reese rocks it on Thursday. I have her guest hosting now. Reese Colbert is amazing.
yeah, Reese's dope, man. I love her, man. I one day hope my daughter has the courage to speak her truth and convictions like Reese does, man. So, nah, man. So your show's growing and booming, man. So I just want to say I'm
Thank
proud of you.
you.
Yeah, truly.
Thank you. I also want to say the last time you were on, you were promoting My Vanishing Country. And if y'all haven't read it, it really is a phenomenal book, really just well written, beautiful, eloquent book. But one of the things you said, I want this to be a New York Times bestseller. And I'm paraphrasing here because I want to show a book like this can be a bestseller. It really was like a love letter to your family, to the South. So I want to say congrats that it happened. Congrats, like, because you were really sincere. It wasn't like for your ego. You were sincere about this kind of story being a bestseller. So
Well,
congrats,
thank
man, that it happened.
thank you for allowing me to utilize your platform. Thank you for everybody who went out and bought it. We sold over 100,000 copies, man. It's been just an amazing ride. And one of the reasons I wanted it to do well is so that other people, other Black folk can tell their stories. Because if we get in the door, we have opportunities and then we flop. If we don't do the work necessary, then we don't get other opportunities. And so I just wanted to make sure I did my part, worked as hard as I could, and thankful for everybody who went out and got it. So it's been a hell of a ride, and I look forward to the next one.
And that's hard to do nowadays because every book that sells now is a Trump book. So the fact that you did this and it wasn't
Sure,
about Trump is pretty incredible.
sure,
Listen, let's talk about Men of Courage. Let's talk about
sure.
the work you're doing around Men of Courage.
Sure, man. Shout out to the Ford Motor Company. I said this yesterday. It bears repeating. One of the unique things about Ford is that they're not new to this. This isn't something that they've done because of George Floyd, right? Ford
Mhm.
has always been on the front end, of front lines of being intentional and purposeful in pushing and promoting diversity, pushing and promoting Black men and women. And I like the fact that they give Black men their own platform. And this Men of Courage is dope. I actually got a chance to do an IG Live with Jerome Bettis before, which was just an amazing opportunity this week. Friday, I'll be in Detroit, Michigan, with Garland Gilchrist, who's a good friend of mine, the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Michigan. And so it's just been a unique and amazing opportunity to be somewhat of an ambassador for the Ford Motor Company and their Men of Courage. They have social media handles. I hope everybody tunes in and checks those out, both on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. And it's just, giving Black men space to have conversations, giving men space to have conversations where we can improve the plight of our lives, lessen the burden that many people have to bear. And it's just a dope opportunity. And I'm glad that Ford is spending their resources to do it.
And tell us about the barbershop challenge. I think it's so important to go to the barbershop. I think it's really crucial that we do that. So tell us how Ford is going to the barbershop and they're having this challenge.
So look, I actually am just leaving the barbershop. So I'm on my 24 hours
Hold up.
of
Bakari, my barber, I live in Jersey. He left after 20 years and now he moved to South Carolina. And the trauma that I'm going through trying to find a new barber,
I don't
this is terrible. This is
I get
wrong. I'm like,
the anxiety that you're going through. This is just it's
I got a
miserable.
lot of angry, but he's in South Carolina now. Shout out to my barber, Eugene.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead. Yeah.
great. Shout out to Tremaine who just lined me up. I'm looking fresh, man. The line is good and everything, man. This 24 hours, you can't tell me nothing for the next
Right.
24 hours.
Exactly.
I'm the
Exactly.
sexiest man alive. But no, man, we were in there. It's funny that we're having this conversation because I'm leaving a barbershop. We were talking about one is a Giants fan, one is a Redskins fan. I like the Falcons. We were talking about football. He was asking me about CNN and saying that he hadn't paid much attention to politics, although he hopes that Biden is able to pass the infrastructure plan and build back better. That's why they voted for him. But this is where you have your conversations, right? In the
That's
barbershop.
right.
That's where you have the sanctity of your ability to have these conversations that just are around other men, and you feel comfortable talking about football and basketball. he just asked me. He said, "Is J-Lo still dating A-Rod? Because the Redskins and the Yankees play tonight." And I was like, "Nah, she's back with Ben Affleck." So we had a whole conversation about that. And I mean, it's just Ford understands that just like for many Black women, a lot of those conversations are in beauty salons. You have to have these conversations in barbershops. And I'm there. Like when I say people are intentional and purposeful, what Ford is doing is meeting people where they are. And so they're meeting Black men where they are, which is in the barbershop.
Yeah, absolutely. Before you go, I do want to talk to you a little bit about politics,
Sure,
and I want to talk to you.
It wouldn't be you and I if we didn't talk about
Exactly,
politics.
exactly. I want to talk to you about Senator Tim Scott, because I heard you say last year that you did have faith that he would come through when it comes to police reform. I know that Senator Cory Booker was trying to work with him, and it appears I heard him lying on TV saying that the Policing Act was going to defund police. It actually wasn't. So I know you had some faith in him. What are your thoughts on what's happening now? What are your thoughts?
Oh, my faith was misplaced. I mean, I think that every time you make a mistake, you got to own it. And yeah, I mean, Tim has been disappointing on this issue. I think one of the more fascinating things about this debate is Tim Scott in 2021 went against everything Tim Scott stood for from 2015 to 2020. Post Walter Scott, Tim Scott pushed for a database or registry of officers who commit bad acts, but he was opposed to that this year. I mean, Tim Scott supported the Donald Trump executive order, which put in place some policing reforms. We couldn't even get that codified this year. The fact that he all of a sudden was against many of the things he was for and didn't negotiate in good faith has been really disappointing, to say the least.
Yeah, and I wonder, I mean, he didn't even vote for the January 6th commission where a white supremacist was in the Capitol with the Confederate flag. It's just it's
disappointing. And Tim's in an election year. And, many times you unfortunately, I think that's one of the perverted parts about the system. People feel like they can't do certain things. And a lot of Tim's biggest fear, I'm sure, is from the right, definitely from the left in South Carolina, as your barber's about to learn. So he is doing everything he can to solidify his base and cozy up to Trump. And I would not be surprised. I mean, I've been wrong about this before, although I did get the Democratic side right. But I wouldn't be surprised if Donald Trump selected somebody like Tim Scott to be his vice president.
Oh, I agree, and I actually think a Black Republican has a really good lane at becoming president or vice president. I really do believe that, because there is something about.
I don't see a Black Republican winning Iowa, for example. I don't see them on the SEC Super Tuesday doing well in Alabama and Mississippi, and I don't see that happening because of the issue of race. But I do think as a vice president, in a general, it may be attractive to some.
What do you think? I keep hearing people say Biden and Harris, they must hold Joe Manchin accountable. They must hold Sinema accountable. And at this point, I don't know what they can really do. I think Joe Manchin enjoys the attention. I think he enjoys it being.
Let's back up a little bit. I don't know what the motivation for Sinema and Manchin is. And so it's hard to defeat somebody when you don't understand
Exactly.
or their motivation is illogical or nonsensical, which in this case, at least Joe Manchin gives the perception of some conservative restraint. I don't know what Kyrsten Sinema's motivation truly is. That's first. Second, I hear your point, and I think you're right, but for the fact that I would say 95% of your listeners cannot name, I take that back, 98% of your listeners cannot name 5 things in the infrastructure bill or the Build Back Better.
Very true.
And the reason, because hell, I can't name 5 things, and I do this for a living. And the reason being is because if this is your number one initiative, why don't you sell it? Like, he's going to Michigan today, but this is the first time. This is your, Democrats frustrate me because when they win elections, they stop campaigning. Donald Trump did every time he signed a piece of legislation, it was a party. Every time he wanted to push anything, he was having a campaign rally. I believe they need to let Kamala Harris go, be free, allow her to travel the country, campaign on this agenda, be on Black radio, be on your show, be on Roland Martin,
Yes.
be on Cam Turner, be on The Breakfast Club, Ricky Smiley, all of those things. Be doing it every week, pushing this agenda, but they're silent. And I think by doing that, you also dampen a lot of the, Kristen Sinema and Joe Manchin do everything they want to do without any recourse because there's no public pressure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. It's wild to me. It's crazy. And listen, I hope that are you going to consider running for office again in South Carolina?
Sure. I'm waiting on Jim to, resign. I mean, Jim Clyburn is one of the greatest, he's a hero of mine, one of the greatest elected officials we have. Shout out to Congressman Clyburn yesterday endorsing Tamika Isaac Devine, who's running to be the first African-American female mayor of the capital city of Columbia. And he did it in a coral pink blazer yesterday. At 81 years old. But I am biding my time and just right now, man, just trying to focus on being a good husband and a good dad, man. These twins, they're about to be 3 in January, and they are just whipping me every
Wow.
chance. So that's my focus, man.
I definitely hear you. We need that. South Carolina has such a robust history, especially during Reconstruction, and I want to see us get some power back in that way, like we had once upon a time. Not saying there's nobody there now, but just South Carolina.
I agree.
Yeah. What was it? 3,000 elected officials in Reconstruction in South Carolina at the time.
Well, South Carolina, we were majority Black. We even had, weirdly enough, when I ran for lieutenant governor in 2014. I don't want to bore you with history, but I was running to be the first African American to win statewide since Reconstruction in 1876. They had 2 Black folk running against each other. One Democrat, one Republican. That's how crazy it was back then. Wow.
Bakari Sellers, I want to thank you once again for coming back on, sir. Again, y'all have to make sure you support Men of Courage. You can go to that. You can go use hashtag Men of Courage. They're doing some good stuff to make sure that our voices are out there and we really make sure that we empower people. Bakari Sellers, thank you so much, sir. I look forward to one of these days meeting you in person. Yeah, for a drink in South Carolina.
Everybody's like, I love Clay Kane. I'm like, that's my boy. We go way back.
I may have to go there to get a haircut. It's just, I'm getting desperate. All right, sir. You have a good day. Be safe.